Hello and welcome to MotorInc First. It's time for the Xpulse 210 conversation to start. We already went with Shumi to Udaipur earlier with the Extreme 250R. And on the same day, in the same trip, on pretty much the same roads, he also rode the Xpulse 210.
Correct.
Does this also have an appendage? Xpulse 210R as something? Nothing. Xpulse 210.
It's a very simple motorcycle.
That's it. And as we discussed in the Extreme video as well, the one change that has been made in these discussions is rather the preparation for these discussions, where we wouldn't discuss the bikes at all earlier. That remains the same. The only difference now is that Shumi, when he came back, he showed me photos. He gave me his iPad and he said, the pics. And I went through the pics of both the motorcycles. The first one I did see was the Xpulse 210. But before why that is important, before we get to that, I want to set the mood for this. I think it's important.
Okay.
I know you started off early.
Yeah, before dawn.
So which was the bike you rode first?
The slow bike.
The Xpulse.
The Xpulse.
Okay. And
slow being slower than the other bike I was riding on the day.
Slower.
If you ride the fast bike first, it just makes the slower bike feel weaker than it is. It
Correct.
skews your judgment. So always slow bike first. When
Always a good call. Yeah. That way you can be fair to the bikes. Did you know where you were going to ride to, or were you just randomly finding?
They give me an idea that we were doing a 110 kilometer loop, 70% road, 30% off-road.
Okay.
So I knew that. I didn't know anything else.
Okay. So it wasn't like a route that you'd seen or whatever. It was just go out. Okay, fine. Now that is clear. So he started off in the morning. It's dark. It's roads that he's not familiar with. And considering this must be somewhere outside of Udaipur, or was this?
Yeah, outside of that.
So narrow roads.
So you expect that it will be pretty for sure because it's Udaipur. You expect it will be rolling countryside with some elevation changes for sure because it's Udaipur and it's Rajasthan. So you say there's a fair amount of terrain here. You just don't know what you're going to get because it's an Xpulse. I mean, it could go anywhere,
right?
Depending on what they've said. Now, what they've said is this bike has 30% more horsepower, 20% more torque. They fixed the issue of the last time, which was mostly highway performance, which was a focus area. Not to saying that they didn't work on anything else, but it was a focus area. Highway performance had to be improved. They worked on that. And they said, whatever the old bike was happy to do, this bike would be happy to do it 25 kilometers an hour faster. This is the agenda that they had set.
Now, he's already gotten to the point. And this is the thing that caught me by surprise when I saw the pictures of the Xpulse 210. Because until then, I'd only seen the teasers, whatever they released, I think, post the Bharat Mobility show. Or
You'd seen the teasers. I hadn't even seen the teasers.
I had seen something because what I remember of the teaser was that there were like these very close-up shots of the bike, so you can't really see the bike much. And I thought, okay, it's an update. Until I saw these pictures. And then I realized that, and my only thing I said to him was, dude, it's a new bike.
It is a brand new bike.
And that was the shock for me. It wasn't an update. And so all these things that you're making sense. Now, when I put it in, when I see it in that light, I say, that's believable. If it is a new bike and on the basis of our conversation over the last couple of MotorInc Firsts as well.
Now, what you should know is the old Xpulse is still on sale.
Okay.
So the 200 Rally Kit, Rally Pro as it's called now, they're all on sale and the 210 comes and sits on top. You should know this because there will be a lot of context setting here and there.
Yeah.
Now I want to start by reversing the flow of this river to Kartikeya Singh. You are an Impulse owner.
Yeah.
What do you love about the Impulse? What do you hate about the Impulse? Not the one that you modified to your taste, what you got as stock.
I think the real beauty of the Impulse is, first and foremost, how friendly it is. It just welcomes anybody to get onto it. And even with those standard on-off-road tires, and it encourages you to go off-road.
Correct.
Right? It, at the same time, is civilized enough, right? You know, the engine was smooth, everything, like for it to be usable every day. And so it was a good motorcycle, a practical motorcycle for somebody who also wanted to go out and get off-roady, so to speak.
Got it? What did you hate about it?
What I can't say I hated it about the Impulse, but it was a clear wall that you really couldn't travel with it. There was a very defined ceiling in terms of the speeds that you could do with it.
Now, we have a reference point here. What you should know is the Impulse was the right bike at the wrong place at the wrong time. Okay? Doesn't matter who said it, I think it's correct. And therefore begins the story of the Xpulse. Now, you've ridden the Xpulse both 2V and 4V. For this particular discussion, the 2V is not really relevant, although it was a very brave thing for Hero to do at that point of time. And it's worked out really well for them. This is one of the few times this company has really gambled and it's really paid off. Both. Okay, now, what did you like about the 4V and what did you not like about the 4V?
I think, and those are very sharp ideas of the Xpulse. Because for me, from the Impulse, ever since I got the Impulse, and I've had it a long time, every time a new bike came, and because I think we were the first few people who really started going off road, so we were always looking at, hey, what's the next step? What's the next step? So you're looking forward to that, right? And the Impulse always had the baggage of, hey, it's only 150cc, it's not powerful enough, so you want a more powerful bike,
right?
So you wanted the next step to happen. So the Xpulse, obviously, you thought that, yeah, this is it. And the Xpulse gave you a step which I wasn't really looking for. And it was good in that regard, and that was the chassis and suspension.
Yep.
What it brought above what the Impulse did. So the way I always think about it and I describe it is that the Impulse gave you this incredible flexibility to change lines mid-corner when you're riding off-road. That ease that it offered was its specialness and continues to remain its specialness. What the Xpulse got was this added confidence for it to be able to, it didn't have that same kind of flexibility, but its ability to absorb more and let you feel more calm and relaxed in those conditions was what the Xpulse did better. But surprisingly, the thing that didn't work for me with the Xpulse, despite it being a 200, was that it didn't give me an advantage in terms of its travelability. It was, forget about the actual performance of it. The performance of it, let's say, was more. But the feel of it, it wasn't good enough.
Okay, I've got all the points that I want to make in this conversation so far now.
Okay.
Did you try the rally kit out?
No, I've barely rode the rally kit.
I rode the rally kit.
Okay.
And I realized that it was so serious a piece of kit that I wouldn't really be able to use it at my skill level. And to me, this is where my story starts. I am not an off-road rider. I have been fascinated by it for a long time and I have been scared of it for a long time. The seriousest I have ever gotten to it is right after COVID when I was at my fittest. All the gear was acquired and I went absolutely nowhere with it. And for this launch, I actually carried 2 pairs of boots.
Are you serious?
Yeah, because I couldn't imagine how to do this in any other direction, right? What if they give us a really hardcore off-road section? I don't want to fall off and hurt myself.
Okay.
But if I'm riding in motocross boots, how do I handle the Extreme 250R? Because that would just make no sense. So I actually packed 2 pairs of boots. Then I thought, should I have armor and knee braces? I said, okay, no, I'll take the knee braces. So in the morning, the knee braces and the things were wedged into the motocross boots. And then in the afternoon, it was taken off. Knee braces were still on, but now it was outside. So I did the whole shebang.
Okay.
Luckily, I have an ADV helmet, so I did both the rolls with one helmet. Otherwise, I have to carry 2 helmets also. Okay. Now, when I ride off-road and the limited amount of experience I have off-road, 2 things definitely happen. 1, I grab the handlebar like I want to break it into 3-4 pieces. 1. And 2, my heart rate goes up and up and up. And when I work out, I can't hit the heart rates I can hit as soon as I go off-road.
Really?
Okay. Now, what you need to know is none of these 2 things happened on this ride at all. I never gripped the handlebars like that and my heart rate never shot up at all. And I would not classify that terrain as something that a beginner would easily accept. It was not super hard, but
So
designed.
it's not just broken roads then you're talking about?
Yeah, it was not super hard. It was not designed to be. But for my skill level and my confidence level and my idea that I'm 50 years old, I don't want to fall and break something, it will take forever to heal. What will I do with it? I didn't have to do any of these calculations. I just had a good ride.
Nice.
Okay. Now let's get into the juicy parts of this. Okay. So first, this is a brand new motorcycle.
Dude, no, he's already made a massive statement, because the one thing you need for a culture to really explode is to have something that's accessible and that's friendly enough. And I think the point that he's already started off with is versatile enough.
Yeah. And just to remind you and just to put a very, very fine point on it, and we'll come back to this because this is a very powerful thing that we have to talk about. He said exactly the same thing for the 390 Adventure S. He said he went out off-road alone, which is a terrible idea. Nobody should do it. And then he said, that wasn't hard enough. I need to evaluate this motorcycle. I want to find something harder.
Yeah.
And he went into a loop of saying, where is the harder stuff? What he's effectively saying is accessible, easy, capable, wow. And I'm saying the exact same thing from the exact opposite side. Where I said it was a guided tour. Somebody took me down a road that I would normally not want to do on a motorcycle at all, because I think I would love to, but I don't have the skill for it, and I don't have the risk appetite for it. But the Xpulse says, you're just worried for no good reason, man. This is easy. And it was.
Wow.
Okay, now.
Okay, details.
Now back to Zero, okay?
Yeah.
Zero, this is a brand new motorcycle. There are pieces on ideas that are shared here and there, but for whatever it's worth, you just accept that this is brand new.
Shared with the 200.
Some ideas from the 200, some ideas from the XMR because the engine is the 210, etc. But I would say disregard the commonality because it does not apply to anything that will benefit you from this motorcycle, and this motorcycle is very, very benefit oriented. So is this a XMR engine retuned? Yes, it is, but that's the wrong way to think about this. You might as well just say, acha chalo, brand new engine. Easier to think of it like that.
Whew.
Gearing from the XMR has been lowered, 4 extra teeth on the rear sprocket. Remember, the focus was we have to solve highway performance and we have to enhance whatever we can. So the focus of the tuning was low and mid-range performance, keeping an eye on the highway. Okay, that's the engine more or less. Frame was completely redesigned in terms of flex, torsion. It's a double cradle frame now. The rear shock now has a linkage. The front suspension travel is 210 millimeters versus 200 on the Adventure S. The rear suspension travel is 205 millimeters, which is the same as the Adventure S. Hero has no adjustability built into this motorcycle, and they're basically saying you don't need it, and I believe them.
Because how much does it weigh?
I don't know the number, I'll put it up, but it does not weigh a lot. It actually feels like it doesn't weigh anything at all.
Yeah, because it should weigh practically nothing.
By now, you guys should have spotted that the linkage looks really low on the motorcycle, and it does not have a bash plate under it. But it was explained to me, and to the person's credit who was explaining, he did not say that's a dumb question. This is what the explanation is, right? But the shock is mounted to the linkage. So when you sit down on it, the linkage rotates out of the way. So it looks lower when there's nothing on the bike. It sits higher when something is on the bike. So the linkage is not going to be an issue. I know you're going to spot it, so I might as well get it out of the way.
Actually, that was the first thing I saw in the pictures, and I was like, this is not the same bike. And that's where it got my attention, because you'll see that triangulated piece at the bottom, and that's absolutely right. As it moves up, that also compresses.
Okay, now.
No. The chassis is new, right?
Effectively new, yeah.
Yeah, because that also, the structure of it looks different. And just to be clear, the Xpulse 200 was an air and oil cooled engine.
Yes.
This is a liquid cooled engine.
Yes.
And this is still a 4-valve. This is
4-valve.
This is a 4-valve 210. And power wise, where would it be now?
25.
25.
So 30% more horsepower. 20. And the reason why I have to re-emphasize 30%, 20% is over and over again, because 200, 210, I know you're going to make a mistake.
Yeah.
And I think Hero's made that one mistake. The only mistake they've made in this is 200, 210 coexisting too close to each other. And a lot of people will not be able to resolve the idea that the 210 is a distraction. The motorcycle is the powerful upgrade. And that number is going to cause confusion. So I want to eliminate this confusion. This motorcycle is, to me, more or less a quantum leap from the 200, but the branding has changed by 10. Don't get distracted by the 10.
How much is the difference in price since we're at this point?
If I'm not mistaken, there are 2 Xpulse 210s now. Okay. The base model, which has a smaller screen, which has some changes in the TFT cluster or something like this, single channel ABS instead of dual, and that's 10,000 rupees less at 174X. And you add 10,000 to that at 184X is the top 210, which has the TFT screen, dual channel ABS, ABS riding modes, taller screen.
Okay.
And maybe handguards and no handguards or something like some minor differences.
Versus the 200?
The 200, I will have to recheck my numbers, but I think it's about 20 or 25,000 rupees less than this.
So not much more money.
No, again, Hero was very clear. 2 lakh ke upar gaya, then the market, addressable market shrinks by quite a bit. That's the reason why it's not an Xpulse 250. Again, we'll come back to this because this would be in questions from circles.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So they didn't do a 250 and they're saying, we didn't do a 250. We're not opposed to the idea of doing a 250 either. But when Indian bikes cross 2 lakh rupees today, it causes a big change in how many people are willing to spend that kind of money. When the market is ready, we will also be ready. So brand new frame, 90-90-21 front wheels, And they're saying 2118 was selected and these sizes were selected because it's very easy to get different tires in those sizes globally because this is a global motorcycle. 3 lakh Xpulses have been sold, 50% of them go outside India.
All right.
Which is why I said Hero gambled on this motorcycle because dirt bikes, Hero, it's not a natural progression.
And export markets is like, I think South America, Africa?
Lots of places, 35 countries or some big number like that. Obviously not a European, not the advanced market product, but a lot of the benchmarking for the 210 are international products.
Okay.
But Heroes understood what needs to be taken from those ideas and how it has to be implemented for a relatively calm, accessible, low-end dirt bike, and low-end in the sense of our skill level, not the motorcycle itself, right? Which is why it doesn't have, for example, upside-down forks. Can you not do upside-down forks? Would it not add visual value to this motorcycle? Yes. Would it also push the price up? Yes. Why didn't you do adjustable? That is the reason why they didn't do adjustable. So the fact that this sits at that 1,85,000, 1,88,000, whatever, is very, very consciously, it's designed to do it. Can you buy this kind of capable motorcycle at that kind of money? I am having a really hard time imagining an equivalent. Off-road to chhodi do. I'm saying off-road to anyway, there is not much of a game, right? Because if you want to go off-road in India, what do you have? You have the Xpulse 200s, you have the Xpulse 210, you have the Scram 440, you have the Himalayan 450, and you have the 2 KTM Adventures. That's the full set.
New chassis, new engine, that's clear. Suspension, new.
Everything is new.
I'm just going with the flow where you had taken. And now what I want to know is, when you got on the bike, same feel? Or does it
narrow, tall, and you sit much closer to the handlebar than before.
Acha.
So you don't do that which you used to do in the Xpulse. And one of the points that they made is, in the history of this motorcycle, this is a 4-year project also, just like the Extreme 250R was, which was the previous episode of MotorInc First. They took prototype bikes during COVID. Spain, the rally team was still testing, the Dakar team. And when they were doing navigation runs, they were running their navigation tests on Xpulse 210 prototypes. And when somebody says this to you on stage, you're like, marketing, a little bit. Then they say stuff like, and therefore we had to move the foot pegs because the Dakar riders weren't happy with our foot pegs. What's wrong with the foot pegs? He says, if the foot pegs are under your hip, when you stand up, you use just the leg muscles, you don't have to use your hands. It's a vertical, you just rise vertically out of the saddle. But when they're not under your hip, then you have to have some component of leaning forward which puts extra weight on the handlebar. It will interfere with the motorcycle a little bit. So the Xpulse 210's foot pegs are under the hip. And I thought this was like a thing, like something to, like, I don't know dirt biking, so you can sell me anything, right? It's absolutely spot on. Every single time I transition from road to off-road and back to off-road or whatever, I just flexed my thigh muscles and I rose up, and it felt so natural and so liberating because at no point did I put any additional pressure into the handlebar. I was like, yes, this makes sense. And the point that they were making is, don't think of the Dakar team as the hardcore off-road team. They are the travel off-road team. They go 800, 900 kilometers in the day, including competitive and liaison sessions. Their bikes have to do well off-road, but they have to give them the energy level required to sustain this effort over those many hours of work. So they are very low effort off-roaders. The Xpulse is the best low effort off-roader I have had the chance to test yet. It doesn't make you work. So back to the starting point. It's pre-dawn, it's dark. My bike had the wrong tire pressures because they'd filled it in the day. Then the temperatures in the desert fall quite a bit, so I was under pressure. Got my tires inflated. And got my lever adjusted because I was wearing these massive boots. I felt like I was walking around in plaster casts, as you would. Never missed a shift after that. Never felt the shifter at all because the boots are like that, but never missed a single shift. Good.
That's good.
Easy. Done. Rolled out of the hotel, paver tile type of rock, the square granite rock driveway. Couldn't feel a thing there either. And then I remember the word that was on the stage was, we used a linkage because I can give you the gliding feeling. You think the Himalayan is plush? You try the 210 out.
Wow.
Because what they said is, the linkage is crucial to be able to control the damping across a wide range of suspension stroke. I can give you the feeling of very quick movements over really small bumps, and then when you land a jump, have reasonable amounts of damping still left so that you don't have to bottom out every single jump either. And if I have to do both sides, you have to bring a linkage. The Himalayan also has a linkage. The KTMs do not. I'm not saying the KTMs are incapable. I'm saying technically, this is why they had to go and build the linkage and the dog bones and the completely new swing arm and setup and everything for this bike. So when you start riding out into Udaipur's roads, you basically say, I'll never slow down for a speed breaker again. Because hey, what's the point?
You don't need to.
You don't need to. So that's one. You have to understand, if you were to just buy an Xpulse 210 to commute and your friends wouldn't understand why you would do that, I would understand why you would do that. All the roads feel better on an Xpulse 210.
When I got the Impulse, I'd written, no, I bought it, yeah. So it was gifted by Vanita to me, and I'd written a long-term report for Autocar back then. And the thing I'd said was, and which was the fact, you suddenly had roads opening up within the city for
That's
you.
it.
Because everything that people are avoiding,
You just go straight through it, yeah. And the Himalayan does that. The Adventure would do it. The Xpulse will do it. So first, everything feels smoother. So this is awesome, right? And it's still dark and the headlights is reasonably powerful, etc. And you're okay, chal, theek hai. Where are we going? So we go down this relatively large road in Udaipur city, and then there is a narrow left. And you take the narrow left, and 2 houses later, you're outside the city.
alright.
It's rolling countryside where the hills rise into the distance, and you can see this road sort of twisting. Now from this distance, as the light is breaking, you think, oh, tarmac. It's not.
Alright.
It's broken, it's old, and we were warned that some of the gravel on tarmac was the color of the tarmac, so you wouldn't even see it. So please be extra cautious. And the Xpulse just handled all of that too. So you could ride this relatively complicated piece of road, and we are not doing too slow speeds. We are in a group. David is ahead. You'll see him in the footage again. And I think Gavin from Autocar joined us, and he stayed with us for most of this ride. So Gavin is behind me, and we are going. And I'm full credit to David because he's ridden with me before. I know getting too close to David is bad for him. So I kept my distance, and I'm very happy Gavin kept his distance too. So it was not a slow group, but it was a peaceful group. We weren't crowding each other, and we all had time to look out. Unknown road, unknown motorcycle, dawn is breaking around us. It's beautiful. How can you not look around? And the bike said, yeah, look around, it's fine. It's not a stress point. So one, it's a really low stress bike. So I really enjoyed the
What kind
experience.
of speeds would you be at here?
Slowest 45s, highest 60s, 65s.
Okay.
So, and really narrow, windy, lots of crests, lots of blind turns, lots of climbing up and down. It's a busy road. And if you were to go faster, it would become busier and busier and busier, and it would be frightening. And we are not
And busy he means by way of how much you have to work, not the traffic.
And there is no traffic because it's super early in the morning, but you can't assume that there is no traffic because it's a 100% a village public road, right? It was that point that you realize that we were not paying attention to what gears we were in at all. We just didn't know what gears we were in at all. Because this bike is a crawler. It's like a little mountain goat. It crawls up things. It crawls up things in weird gears that you're like not paying attention to, and it's really flexible.
How does it sound, the engine?
It sounds like a really nice single-cylinder engine. It's a high exhaust, like a dirt bike would. So it's like that, and the exhaust comes out just next to the tail light, and it sounds like a healthy, nice single-cylinder engine.
But there was the thing about the 200 was that the engine had this clattery, gruff feel to it.
Just leave it all behind, Karthik.
Just making sure, because now I am sinking into the moment.
Just leave it all behind,
I'm
Karthik.
getting into the zone.
Just leave it all behind, Karthik. It's an exceptionally smooth motor. To the point where I again think they made it too smooth.
Oh my God.
So you might feel like, oh, come on, this is too smooth. You might feel like it. Some of you will say, okay, this is just a little too smooth. It's a very smooth engine. Okay, so here's what happens. I've told you, I'm not an off-road guy at all, but I have all the gear, okay? So I'm actually the influencer in that moment, if you think about it, right? I have the RI helmet, I have the climb jacket, and I'm wearing my Alpenstars body protection, and I have the climb pants, and I have the Liat C-frame braces, not just the cheap X-frames. I have the C-frame braces, I have the top-of-the-line TCX boots, and no clue at all, right? So the road goes right, and David goes left. I'm like, what the hell? So I'm focused there because I'm a track rider. Like, I look far ahead and I can play. So I'm like, and David's gone off road, okay? And basically the road goes like this and it goes over the hill and joins the road later. And it's, I don't know, 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers long. So first reaction, panic, right? Because I have to go off road now and I was not prepared for it, right? If I'd seen it coming, okay. So you hit the first couple of rocks and you're like, I didn't feel that. The bike didn't deflect. It didn't do anything. I think we'll be okay. Okay? And then the track goes like this. and there's like a band of rock that sticks out of the ground, and David goes straight over the band, and it's like 3 steps like this, okay?
I get it.
Now I'm looking for a safer way around this, right? There isn't one. I still haven't remembered to stand up, huh? I haven't remembered to stand up yet.
Okay.
So I'm still sitting on the bike. So I go over the 3 rocks, and I was like, maybe I should stand up because that was too easy. It might look like I am not trying. And David's looking over his shoulder and just checking on me, right? Because I told David that, look, I don't ride off-road, I don't know anything about it. So David kept a very easy pace, but every time I would pick up the pace, he would pick up the pace a little bit more. And this went on for 2 kilometers, and I just couldn't get this bike to give me a sense of fear. So we went uphill, we went downhill, there was some rocky section, there were some sandy sections, and I think David was preparing us for a taste of what would come later more than anything else. But that first taste, I was like, holy cow, this is so easy, right? And that's the key to this motorcycle. If I were to put luggage on that bike and say, I'm going to be touring in the Udaipur area and I need to get to this hotel, let me take a random turn and see where it leads, you would never panic because there would be no need to. And when you started to panic on an Xpulse, it would be best for you to turn around and go back because now it has become so difficult that not much is going to go through that in any case.
You're saying if you can't make it through in an Xpulse, you might as well.
If your panic starts to come saying this terrain, panic, 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 you do not have the skill for this, please go back. Because the bike is way more capable than you are and it is very good at allaying your fears, which is the important part here.
Right.
So we continued to go down this beautiful, narrow, windy road through villages, slowing down for everything, not worrying about speed breakers anymore, not worrying about potholes anymore. Tarmac, and the top layer has disappeared, bottom layer is visible. Done. That's the amount of effort that you have to put into this.
So if I have to describe the suspension, it's like not firm but controlled. Is that
very controlled?
It's absorbent but controlled.
Very, very controlled. So you would not think of it as super soft, you would not think of it as wallowy, and you would not think of it as firm. You would think of it as it knows exactly how much to deflect suspension to handle this thing. So your chassis stays here, your body of the bike, you stay here, and the wheels do their job, and you don't do much. So very, very nice.
Effective.
Very effective. The second stretch that we did was very interesting because this is a road that was used basically to maintain a pipeline that runs parallel to this road. So it goes up and down and steeply for the pipeline. And they bothered to make tarmac up to a point and they said, it's gonna not, who's going to make a road here? Yeah. So the road falls into more and more disrepair until the road disappears. And on my Insta360 footage I checked later, this was about 19 odd minutes of riding. I don't know what the distance was, but I'm assuming at the pace we were going, this would have been 11, 12, 13 kilometers of it. This was originally meant to be a road. They forgot about it. So the rocks were laid, soil was put, and then it was ignored for 10 years or something. So the rocks have come off. So it's off-road and it's super rocky. And then you're like, why is this so easy? Right? Because it's just doing everything. And again, I've seen sections where I thought it was difficult and I was slowing down to 20s and I was going down the gears to second, first. And then 2 kilometers later, similar section again, I have failed to slow down and I have failed to change gears. When I have slowed down, I have not changed gears. So I'm doing 19, but now I'm in third and the bike is still going. There were 2 water crossings that were dry, rounded rocks. Panic, sat down the first time, nothing happened, came out the other side saying, why did I sit down again? When the next time it came, I didn't even slow down, it just went through. So I had issues with where I know I have issues. Like when I see sand on the exit of the corner where I would normally be on the throttle, I worry about it on an off-road bike. But everywhere else, the Xpulse just did everything that I thought it should. We didn't jump anything, but I know that when I jump, it will land so softly that it will feel like that is also a natural extension of what we do. So when we got to the breakfast place, I was buzzing because I had said, I have only one thing left to solve. How is it in city traffic? And more importantly, what would it do out on the highway? Because if I buy this bike as a recreational off-roader, I think you'll be okay if you're a beginning rider. But the big question is, if you were to load luggage on it and head out on the highway, what the hell is going to happen? Which is one of the things that they said in the presentation that we've done that. So instead of doing whatever route they had planned, I said, since you're guiding me, David, can we just go to the highway now? And whatever distance is left, I would just like to do highway. So he says, sure, it's right here. And then we had a wide 2-lane shoulders. You'll see the footage, long sweeping corners. And the calm, no work is happening zone of the Xpulse starts at 85.
Okay. Starts at 85.
Starts at 85. So if you were to do 85 kmph on the Xpulse 210 all day, it would feel like you haven't done any work, the bike has not done any work. For some reason, you are so many 100 kilometers later and so much fuel has disappeared. So it's zero effort. And again, I'm not bringing up refinement in this because it's a given. This is a smooth bike, it just does everything. Okay. Now, when you hit 90 kmph, it's still doing more or less the same thing. At 100 kmph, you're running 7,000 rpm. Small engine, it will. 7,000 rpm feels completely normal to me, but I ride bikes a lot and I've sat at 7,000 a lot. Will you be able to do it or not is a mental shift you will have to make. The bike doesn't care.
You know, what do you feel? I mean,
nothing. You just visually look down at 7,000 rpm.
But you're not feeling a buzz or...
There is no buzz. Buzz nahi hai.
So then the 7,000 RPM is just a...
Yeah, it's just a head thing. Are you okay with this or not? Bike is okay. And then you realize at 120 it is more or less the same feeling, but now you got another 2,000 RPM to deal with. So in theory, on this bike, you can sit at any speed from 85 to top speed and the bike will feel increasingly a little bit noisier, but otherwise completely unstrained from this effort. What you're willing to do is something you will have to discover for yourself. So if I were traveling on this motorcycle, I would be sitting at 110 all day with luggage on it.
Was the throttle weight okay?
Good question. So this throttle is a little bit heavy feeling. And at these kind of speeds, sometimes when you overtake, it feels like I'm rolling on quite a bit of throttle to try and get past something. And then you start downshifting to overtake it. You will realize that you don't actually need to do it, but it will take you a long association with this motorcycle to get to that state. So it doesn't feel super powerful at those revs. It just feels super comfortable at those revs. The real sense of performance and ease is much lower in the rev range, where you're crawling up an incline. And you realize at the top of the incline that you did the whole thing in third and maybe it would be smarter to be in second. Or the other way around, which happened to me, which is I climbed in second and said, oh God, I should have just climbed it in third. I don't know why I bother.
Okay.
Right? Very flexible, very smooth, very impressive motor on a very impressive chassis. What I really like about the Xpulse is they've got other things right too. First, there is a pull handle made in metal already mounted to the bike. So if you get stuck and your friend needs to drag you out,
oh yeah,
the handle's already there.
Oh nice.
Yeah. Second, they have a color TFT screen on the top model.
Okay.
But the hero designers have not felt the need, like TVS designers sometimes do, to cram colors into the screen just because it's a color screen to constantly prove to you that, bro, you bought a color screen. You know what that means? See colors. It's a grayscale screen. A few highlights appear in a few colors as required. So I was in road mode, that's ABS. I was in road mode, the highlights are blue. Then you go to trail mode, which is front ABS only, rear ABS off. In that mode, the color changes, if I'm not mistaken, to yellow. And then you go to no ABS mode, which is all ABS off, and then the highlights become red.
Okay.
But the screen is a grayscale looking screen with big large numbers, which is super easy to read. The important things are black, the non-important things are a light gray. Best design screen ever? No. Super readable screen? Yes.
Again, effective.
Effective, clean, works with the utilitarian idea of this motorcycle and then takes it one step above. Perfect. Then people said, but you can't change ABS modes on the fly. They said, no, you can. It's a shortcut. You press the down arrow on the switch gear and you press and hold, and then the bike will show the ABS menu. And you select the ABS that you want, press the center button to confirm, close the throttle, release the brakes, new ABS mode on the fly. Every little one of these things is thought through. What is missing again is some of the finer detail.
Okay.
Will you look at these switches and say high quality switches from a premium manufacturer? I don't think so. But will you struggle with the switches at all? No, it's not a Himalayan. These are good switches. Are they clicky? Yes. Will they work with gloves? Yes. But will you say high quality, premium? No. The screen will look like a premium motorcycle. Somewhat. I think the resolution could have been a little sharper perhaps. But basics, everything works.
But the screen is in effect a better experience than that on the 250R.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You will ask that question if you see the two bikes back to back, saying if the Xpulse can have a TFT, why can't the Extreme have a TFT screen? You will ask that question. You will ask it. Yeah. Spot on.
And I would have thought that that is the natural fit over there.
Yeah. Yeah. So easy, peaceful, happy, comfortable, capable, and most importantly, it just constantly gives you confidence. So when you sit on the highway and I'm going on a road which is sweeper into sweeper into sweeper, in the back of my head 21-inch wheels and 200 mm suspension, I'm sitting high up in the sky, makes no difference. It's not like a cornering demon and you're not getting a knee down, but it goes where you point it. It keeps you planted, plugged in. Brakes are good. And brakes are very good in the sense of they have a lot of bite. They stop well. There is some amount of dive which you learn to deal with. But at no point do you think this is going to become overpowering off-road or going to become weak on-road, which can happen.
And again, when it dives, does it go into a dive straight away, or does it let
No, it's
you
controlled. It's controlled.
brake and then?
It's controlled. It's not flopping onto its suspension stroke because you hit the brake. It's controlled.
Nice.
They've really nailed all of these small parts of the picture. Even the seat. I didn't remember the Xpulse seat till the other end. And the rally seat will come, which will be narrower and which will be taller, and it will fill that gap in the middle and all of that stuff, which will make it a even more serious off-road, will give you more legroom, etc. to play with, right? That seat is an accessory. It will come later.
Okay.
And they are not kidding about how serious they are. The risers on this bike are asymmetric. So it's set up a way, you turn it the other way, the handlebar rises up a little bit and comes a little bit closer to you, which you may not need. I'll explain why. But the accessories have 5 mm increments up to 20 mm of risers, which you can buy from Hero and add to your own bike. You don't have to go outside looking for them.
So these are people who are doing this on a regular basis who built this bike.
Yeah.
Nice.
So the design of the motorcycle, to come to that, the first thing that they said is the old Xpulse design. This team that worked on this bike inherited that design. They weren't part of that process, but they were given a clean sheet. And the first thing that they wanted is, I wanted to sit closer to the handlebar, because in the corners, when you want to load the front up, you have to get much far up motorcycle, which the old Xpulse wouldn't allow you to do.
And I love this tank.
Right? And therefore, they had to take the same volume of the tank and make it vertical so that it would be compressed to the front of the motorcycle and bring more weight on the front from the tank and from you. So suddenly, you sit like a dirt bike. It's not far away from you unless you decide to move back in the seat and open the triangle out, which I did on the highway, but I didn't on that narrow road. Right? It's such a serious product in that way that you see the little bits clicking into place and making sense and working things out.
What a lovely, lovely time, man. Imagine we've spoken about 3 off-road bikes in the last 1 month.
Yeah. Yeah.
And good products.
Yeah. And this segment will grow because to me, is the Himalayan or the Adventure going to be affected by the Xpulse? I don't think so. But together, as a group of motorcycles that all go off-road in their own ways with so much ability, I think the least confident product in this to go off-road with is actually the Himalayan. Because there's when you have the top heaviness and the weight and all of that to deal with. The other 2 motorcycles are really, really accessible. So at the Xpulse, basic 4-valve, the Rally Pro, then the 210, the 2 Adventures. You've got 5 good bikes to go off-road with, which will all make your life simpler rather than more complicated.
Why would you recommend the 200 anymore?
It's there and it's a cheaper bike.
I wouldn't recommend it.
That's fine. I'm saying as an option, it's there.
Because you know what? This is the one thing that, even though the Impulse was 150cc and everything, right? The one thing that it always gave you was the ability to keep going. And I'm talking about the engine. Like, I underestimated how much ability that motorcycle had. I thought I had capped it. I mean, I had hit its limit, etc. And then, of course, Suraj Giri, he said, hang on. And he got tires. He got tires, okay. And even before that, one of the first few things which, I mean, even before I started riding with Giri regularly, it was tire pressures.
Yeah.
You know, just dropping tire pressures.
Yeah, we were running stock throughout.
Yeah, and I'm talking about like when we used to go in the monsoon, in the slush, we'd be going through grassy hills where traction was crap, like you're nothing, right? Just dropping tire pressures.
Brought some back, yeah.
You thought, like, I have done a climb like this, which was grassy, and I rolled down very bravely. This was back with Osif when he was doing his Thar stuff. So I went down because all the Thars were going downhill and they said, come. And I also said, okay, yaar. Went down. And when I got down, I said, okay, I made it, thank God. And then I said, okay, chill for a bit. Basically, I waited for my knees to stop shaking. And I said, okay, now we'll go back up. And I look up and it's like that. And it's all green and grassy. And I said,
no way.
I'm not going to make it. All I did was I adjusted pressures. First gear, went. The bike literally just chugged. And I was so intent on making it up that I didn't roll off the gas until I got to over the last step. So I literally went over that like and landed. So what I'm trying to say is that with the 210, with the 200, as much as the chassis enables you massively, the engine is the one thing that made you work more.
Correct. And to me, I'm saying, yes, I think you're right. You should get the 210.
And which is why and I look at this bike as an enabler for people to start going off-road.
Yeah.
And in that, the 210 will be the right step to take, because that engine, if everything that you're saying, the additional grunt at low revs, the smoothness, means that this is the one that will say, you'll manage, get on with it.
Yeah, I agree. So the 200 remains on sale, the Rally Pro is on sale, the 210 is on sale. I suspect you'd have the best time on the 210. And at that point, it's a budget issue. If you're really stretching to get to the 200, it's not a bad bike to have. But if you can stretch your budget to the 210, it's a far superior motorcycle, no two ways about it. Do not get distracted by the 10cc difference. So the net point of this story is superbly made motorcycle that does everything reasonably well. Highway performance was the weakest area. I am still going to say it's not as impressive on the highway as it is off-road, as it is on the city, but now it is competent enough.
And in the city, it would be fun.
Like in the city, it's an automatic. You just stick it in second or third, and you just never worry about your gearbox again. To pass things, and when they make diversions to go around potholes and stuff, you just go straight right through it. You won't even feel a thing. It's awesome.
And brakes are good and steers well. So
brakes are good, steers light. It's a reasonably wide handlebar, so it's a lot of leverage. So you change direction. In any case, whoever you meet, you're going to look down at them because it is a reasonably tall saddle versus everybody else. You can add the rally seat and make it even taller. And as I understand it, they are thinking about what to do about the 210 Rally Pro bike.
Okay.
Do they need it or not is a question that they haven't been able to answer yet, because this bike has turned out to be so capable anyway. And if this is so capable and you build a Rally Pro, then that will become like deadly serious. So having this at 200 and that 230 may not make sense anymore. So they'll have to put 300 mm suspension on it. If they put 300 mm suspension on it, that seat becomes a 915 or 920 mm seat. So how far do you crank this up is question one. And if you crank it up that far, then this becomes 188 and that becomes 2.7 lakhs. Then is there a point in making that bike any further or not is a question.
Okay. Why did they not do the 250?
The 250, they said, is just a cost thing. If they had done the 250 and it would have become 2.2, 2.3, 2.4, 2.5 lakhs, the number of people who would be willing to consider a 210 would become a radically smaller number in India. We know that that pyramid is really narrow. They're saying, we're not willing to go there yet. The day we think it has widened out, there is no reason why the 210 can't become a 250 or be replaced by a 250. But they are very, very clear about this. They are saying if we have to grow the adventure touring motorcycle class, if we have to grow the off-road culture, then the first thing we need is a viable product at a great price. That's what the Xpulse 210 is. And the reason it doesn't exist is because they say if we can sell, let's say 10,000 of these, we can only sell 3,000 of those. The additional 7,000 who have the 210s will make the community, make the experience, make the lifestyle so much more richer than having 40cc more for 7,000 less people. That's the game.
I'm just thinking, like, if they did the KTM thing where the same engine was there in the Charisma and as it's going to be, and they're in the Extreme and in this, then the cost itself would have been. I'm just thinking from the one standpoint, and I understand that it is now a capable enough motorcycle for the highway.
Yeah.
Right? But imagine if it had that little bit more latitude, then it's like a product that's closed the conversation.
See, again, I am telling you from our perspective that on the highway, I would have loved more performance. But for most people, I'm not sure that they're going to think the same way.
So are you saying that 100, 110 is
easy?
Oh, it's easy?
It's easy. The problem is you will look down and see 7,000 RPM on it.
That's it.
You have to get used to that.
Ability-wise, it's not an issue. It's not like you feel like, no, I don't want to sit here.
I'm telling you, there is no refinement issue ever.
No, I'm asking for the feel.
You can sit at the red line for all days. Kartik, the bike doesn't care. It doesn't vibrate and doesn't have a sense of strain. The bike doesn't care. You will care. Okay. First time I came back from...
Because I've done this with the Xpulse 200. Like all the way.
It's a bad reference point.
No, I'm telling you, because I've sat at the red line, and trust me, that's like one of the most painful memories.
It's a bad reference point. The first time I rode 1,000 kilometers on my KTM Duke 200, I am happy to admit in hindsight, so far away from that time, that I did sit at the red line in 6th gear all day. And I realized the bike doesn't actually care. I had a sense of strain from it. And on a later motorcycle, a larger motorcycle, when I did the same kind of speed, that length of time over that distance, my sense of strain came down. I am saying this bike doesn't have a sense of strain at all. So you do 9,000 RPM all day. The bike doesn't care, and it doesn't transmit to you saying, oh bro, you're doing 9,000 RPM. It doesn't care. You will look down and you will see that blue bar has reached 9,000 and it's sitting at 9,000. Red line's at 10, 10 and a half. You will take psychological strain from it, which you have to get over it.
So again, effective.
Yeah, see what happens at the racetrack when we say you're going to ride this session, you're doing this throttle control drill, you're going to be in the same gear the entire way around. People don't want to redline their motorcycles. But the red line is there to protect the engine from you. So up to the red line is safe. By the manufacturer, it is safe. But you're not willing to go there. And it takes us 3, 4, 5 sessions to convince you saying it's okay to come out of the corner, hit the red line, let it go and just back off. The bike doesn't actually care. I'm saying the Hero has no sense of strain. It has no refinement issue. There is no vibration. You want to sit at 120 all day? Yeah, sure, why not? Can you overtake things at 120? Yeah, that's going to be a little bit of work. And yes, it's a small engine still. It's a very good engine, but it's still a small engine. Can you sit at 100 all day at 7,000 RPM? Sure. You'll get used to it.
Okay.
The first time it will bother you a little bit. Because to us, 5,000, 4,000, 6,000 are normal speeds to sit at all day. This bike feels like that. But when you look down, you're actually doing 7,000 RPM. You have to get over it. Which you cannot solve unless you have more displacement, obviously.
Okay, so what's the problem?
I didn't say there was a problem.
I'm asking, where's the problem?
I didn't say there was a problem.
So there's no problem?
The problem will be visual perceived quality from here and there and those kind of things that are the usual traditional Hero things, which they're working on, which they've not solved fully yet.
Okay.
That's it. Will this bike be very happy to take a pillion on? No, it's a tallish motorcycle. So if your pillion is fit and limber, then they'll get on. But if it's a mum who wants to sit sideways, this is going to be a troublesome motorcycle to have. So in those terms, all of this capability has the usual practicality compromises, which you have to live with.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I've forgotten. How much does the X cost?
X?
390 Adventure X.
The 390 Adventure X is 2.91x. 1 lakh 10 more, effectively. One more, pakdo. And then the S is 170 more than the Xpulse.
So a lakh more?
And then another 70 more.
Another 70 more. So it's in a sweet zone then.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Their tagline is more attitude, more latitude.
More attitude?
More latitude.
Okay.
For once, it's roughly accurate.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I actually like how the bike looks. In fact, that tank really got my attention.
Yeah.
It has a sense of purpose to it.
Yeah.
Like, it feels serious.
Yeah. I wish they hadn't done the HRC colors, but...
Is it HRC?
No, it doesn't say HRC, but it's blue, white and red.
I thought that's BMW, no?
No, HRC, not the off-road HRC. I'm saying HRC. HRC has always been blue, white and red. The first time I saw this color combination, like...
I thought BMW.
Is that BMW?
I really thought it was BMW. Like,
No, but it looks good. There were a couple of other colorways there. Honestly, I didn't even see those colorways properly because I was enjoying this blue bike so much. So it's a good-looking bike. Reasonably good headlight. If you're touring, you're definitely going to add auxiliary lights to it. No choice.
It's the same headlight as the regular Xpulse.
Redesigned and repurposed, and 2 projectors at the bottom, etc. So no, not the same headlight. Similarly, small headlight, so little disproportionate in that sense.
Yeah.
But to me, still, if you're serious about touring, you're still going to have to add lights to the bike. You don't have a choice.
Yeah, because that's like, I think the Xpulse signature was a small headlamp with that big beak under it.
Yeah, and it's a reasonably powerful headlight. Like in the dark when we were riding, did I think, oh, it's not too bright, etc.? No, it was fine.
Nice.
But if I were to be touring on it, would I think, oh, enough of a headlight? No, I'm obviously going to add lights.
Okay. And spoke wheels, obviously.
Spoke wheels, tubed.
Tubed.
I asked, how is it that the serious off-roaders can't see the point of tubeless wheels? And I was told the tubeless wheel advantage is not to be underestimated. But when you're in the wilderness and you're a serious off-roader, you have an issue. The tire comes off the bead. How are you going to generate enough tire pressure to be able to reseat the bead is the answer that nobody has. As soon as you have that answer, the off-road guys don't need to be using tubes anymore.
Okay.
That's the issue. Okay. So this bike doesn't have tubeless tires. As far as I can tell, no tubeless options are coming either from Hero.
Okay.
You can solve it in other ways. You could import a set of tubeless rims.
And are they planning to do like what they've done with the Xpulse back then, the T version? Is there
No.
anything like that? The T is gone.
No.
Okay.
This team is not thinking the same way. They are
Okay.
saying Xpulse is an off-road, outdoors adventure brand. Things like the T, those kind of distractions we don't need. And if this team were to be told no, make a T, we would get a supermoto. We would not get some
Correct.
hack. This is not the kind of people who would do a hack. I didn't get the impression.
Okay. Okay. And you had mentioned in the previous episode, but what are the tires on this?
Very good Euro grips.
Euro grips, huh?
It has a number. It doesn't actually have a name. So it's an ATT 6181, some number like this is. I've never paid attention. I think this name has been on their website for a while. I haven't paid attention. I couldn't trip these tires up, so I think it's awesome.
Okay. All right. What do you want me to ask next?
Quick summary and QFCs.
Okay, fine.
Before you do the quick summary, I have a few notes that I've made, which I think you should just fill up pieces of information. Okay. So the big change from the sprockets I told you is +4 at the back. The engine has a new set of cams and a new set of engine ignition maps also.
From the Charisma. Okay.
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 Aim, heat management, low and mid-range increase, highway performance, and now 3000 RPM onwards, 70% of the torque is available. Okay. Which was not the case. So it's more torque than before and earlier and more stable than before, both.
Okay.
There's a metal bash plate as standard. Honestly, I didn't reach down to touch and see how thick the metal and all of this was. This is a reasonably high and lightweight motorcycle. I don't think I would touch the bash plate until something touched the bash plate and broke it, which would be a long time to come. Right? They moved from 37 to 41 mm forks. So these are fatter forks and they are longer travel than that. The new swing arm, etc., causes a 35 mm increase in wheelbase. So this is also a longer motorcycle than before, which is why it also looks a lot more proportionate than the old Xpulse did. You've got 10-step preload at the back. The linkage is brand new to the Xpulse. It puts 1% more weight on the front. How serious are we? This is 27.1 degrees of rake. And then we were told how many dirt bikes globally run 27 degrees of rake. And it was a one-to-one reference saying if you want to make a serious dirt bike, you start here. We started there and then we said, it's good enough. We don't need to move from here. This is great.
Do you have more details on the frame?
I don't have more details on the frame because they said double cradle frame. Big advantage, we can control the forces really well. It's a reasonably lightweight frame and the frame rails are under the engine. So even if when you hit something really hard, first the bash plate, then the frame, then the sump. So your protection from off-road elements.
Xpulse was not a dual cradle.
No, it wasn't. Yeah. This is a dual cradle, right? Foot pegs under the hip. I told you the seat itself is longer. The pillion seat itself has been expanded further and there's more legroom also for the pillion. So it's not as spacious, I'm going to say, as a Himalayan, but it is more spacious for the pillion than the old 200 as a reference. That's all the technical notes that I made.
Okay.
Yeah, and Adventure Tourers are India's fastest growing premium segment on a very small base, but very fast. And in there, Xpulse and Himalayan are the two big brands.
Interesting. All right, so now it's time for the quick summary of the Xpulse 210. First and foremost, the step up in displacement is small, so don't be misled by it because the difference in terms of the experience is a world apart on the basis of what Shumi's experienced. And he started off by saying, and he's always said that he's not into off-road, but on this ride, he did have to ride over several kilometers of rough roads, different sections, different times, different paces, and different kinds of terrain and environments in which those bits came about. Some of them were slower, some of them were faster, some of them were a little bit more challenging and more open. So better visual space always makes a difference. And through all of that, the great thing was that the suspension and chassis worked beautifully. And this is a motorcycle that is all new from whatever I can make out of what Shumi has told about the details. So starting with the chassis itself. This is a dual cradle frame, and so it's running around the bottom of the engine. It's a longer wheelbase. The swing arm is longer. It's got a 27-degree rake, which is, as the team at Hero told Shumi, that's where you got to start if you want an off-road oriented motorcycle. It's got 43 mm front forks, which are fatter than before. Basically, even more control, even more confidence is what the chassis will be able to deliver to you. And let's keep in mind, at the rear now you also have a linked monoshock, and that will change the experience of an already confident experience that the Xpulse offered earlier. So this, and one of the things I think that is a key part of what this setup is going to be able to deliver is this sense of calm and plushness, because over those broken roads, Shumi could ride while still being seated and not feeling the need to stand up. It could
Yeah,
just
so
absorb all of that.
yeah, so I was watching something about dirt bikes yesterday, and they were talking about handlebar damping mechanisms that have abuse protection. And the idea is that you're not feeling this. And I think plushness is the right way to describe it in simpler terms. This bike is plush. And I said plush on the road, it remains plush off road. It still gives you enough feedback for you to know that you just did something stupid and survived, for example. But you never get a sense of, oh, here's a joke.
Correct. So that ability to absorb stuff easily, lightly, that light-footedness is a beauty of the Xpulse, and I think they've taken it a notch up with this new chassis and suspension. And at the heart of that is the engine. Now, this comes from the XMR, Charisma, whatever, the 210 engine, but it is effectively new. The camshafts are new, the ignition maps are new, the way the power is delivered is new. But most importantly, it's how it feels. This engine is smooth, this engine is tractable, this engine is effortless. I was, for the longest time, not being able to grasp that you could sit at 110 or even 120 kilometers an hour on the highway, which has been a weak point of the Xpulses. And Shumi had to repeat it several times. No, you can't do it. There is no strain. You will not feel the strain.
Yeah.
It's just that you will see the RPMs rising, which will be 7, 8, 9,000, whatever it is. The red line is about 10, somewhere around there. So you could be sitting even at the red line, as he said, but it's not a problem. It'll just be a ideological issue that you're sitting at the red line and therefore might not enjoy it. The motorcycle's engine itself is more than happy to be sitting at those speeds and for extended durations. It doesn't have that sense of strain. Like we've spoken with the Zoom, with the Extreme, and now with the Xpulse, that the engine's refinement is clearly a highlight. It takes away the sense of strain and it adds to the effortlessness of traveling with them, and which is a great thing for a motorcycle like the Xpulse, because it is meant to take you around and go travel places where you haven't been to before. And in that regard, the other great thing, and the flexibility that Shumi has described, like being able to sit in a higher gear or sit in a low gear and say that, I wish I could have just, I wish I'd just taken the high gear. That ability to say that I could do this or that and without having to think twice means that it's a far more friendly motorcycle to ride as well. So you'll feel that on the road. The suspension and the performance will help you in the city. It'll help you while traveling and when you go off-road, which means for people who are starting off to ride, and I am going to be unequivocal about this, the 200 might still be on sale, but this is the motorcycle that will make a lot of sense if you really want to explore doing more things with your motorcycle, because you want everything to help you out as much as possible. And this sounds like it's in that zone. And
It's the R15 of the off-road world.
that's boss. That's called the cheat code sport bike. So
No, think about it, right? I'm dead serious about it. The R15 came into the market and said, I'm a small bike, but I'm a serious sports bike, and we laughed. Then we rode it and said, holy shit, it is serious.
Yeah.
Right? And then it turned out to be reliable, it turned out to be friendly, and it turned out to be an enabler for literally legions and legions of people who understood how a serious sports bike is while remaining small. Everything he's telling me in the quick summary, things are clicking into place. And to me, if this bike proves reliable,
yeah.
I'm only saying if, because it's a brand new bike, we have to work this out over time. I see no reason why it wouldn't. But if this bike proves reliable, then you look at that price, it's well within reason. You look at the capability, it's outrageously good for that price. At the same time, it remains friendly throughout. It's a motorcycle that is going to enable you to explore off-road, not panic, find that you'd really enjoy it.
So yeah, the brakes, good. The suspension, we already said, good. The seat is slim, narrow. The way you sit on the bike is very familiar, like the older bike, except for the one thing that you sit much closer to the handlebars now. And that's because the tank has been squished, it's been made taller, it has the same volume as before, but it's been reshaped to give you that better off-road stunts. And one of the things that was highlighted to Shumi was how the Dakar team had contributions to this bike as well, because this was being used for some of the recce runs for the Dakar, and it was being ridden by Hero's factory team riders, and they gave feedback. One of those bits was that the foot pegs have to be repositioned so that they land, I mean, basically, when you stand up, your hips are right over it. So there's less effort for you to transition, and also not having to load up the bar or lever the bar as you're doing these transitions. And that was something that he immediately found friendly and good to know. Aside from that, the equipment wise, there is ABS with ride modes on, not ride modes, ABS modes. There is road,
Both wheels, front wheel, and no.
whatever that is, whatever the names are. And this is available on the top spec variant. There are two variants.
No, I think the ABS is not available on the base variant primarily because it's not dual channel ABS.
Asha, the base
That is single,
only from single channel
therefore
ABS.
single, and you can turn it off. And on the top model, because you have dual, you can turn the rear off or both off.
Okay, fine. And aside from that, the base variant doesn't get the color screen.
It doesn't get the color screen, and it doesn't have a taller visor.
Taller visor. Done. So that's the variants. Aside from that, as for a pillion, I mean, no surprises. The Himalayan will be more spacious than it. Getting onto the pillion seat will be a bigger challenge. It is going to be tall. There are nice little details, like there's a grab handle for you to pull the bike out in case you get stuck. And we didn't talk about luggage, but we did talk about the headlamp. The headlamp looks a lot like the one on the Xpulse 200, but it's a completely redesigned unit. And Shumi did use it early in the morning, and it was bright
Good
enough.
First glance, good enough. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you're going to travel, you will need auxiliary lights.
So the tail rack is also there, which is on the top model as standard. Doesn't come on the bottom model.
Acha.
There is a tail rack also.
Both are, I mean, you're running them with spoke rims, which are tubed. Prices,
175, 185 effectively.
Yeah. And I mean, through that conversation at one point, I started thinking about, hey, how far is it from the 390 Adventures?
Very far.
Right? And that's a significant step. You're talking about 1 lakh at the very least, and 1,70,000 for the S. So that's a significant amount of money. I mean, if you think about it in one way, the Adventure S is 2 times the cost in a way, if you think about it. Yeah. So that's a lot more money. So for somebody who's looking to start off, this is a really accessible, and from the sounds of it, a competent and effective product.
Yeah. Think about it like this. If you're confused between the Adventure S and the Xpulse 210, you're buying 2 effective, happy single bike garages that both will do all parts of their functions really well. The Adventure has more capability, and out on the highway, obviously more performance. The Xpulse has enough performance for the highway and very similar ability off-road, and both are uncomplicated motorcycles to ride. So the question you really want to ask is, which brand would you like to associate with? Are you okay with 2 times the money? And what is your actual use cycle going to be? The more serious about off-roading that you are, and in terms of learning and recreation, I think the Xpulse will be slightly better for you. The more you're saying, no, I just want to travel, and while I'm traveling, if I encounter dirt stretches, I should be okay to go through it. That, I think the Adventure S will do more of better. The Adventure S will do more of, but would you like to spend 2 times to get that delta is a question that you have to ask. A 46 bhp bike is a 46 bhp bike. No 25 bhp bike is going to become a 46 bhp bike.
I would have thought that the Adventure S, the reason to get it is you want to go off-road.
No, that's not a bigger difference. Both are happy off-road, and they're both easy off-road.
Dude, now I'm super curious to ride this, man.
Now, so see, think about it like this. When you're going off-road, the additional performance doesn't always give you a better experience. You don't need it.
No.
You need the chassis to do a lot of...
In fact, the lightness of this motorcycle might...
Correct. So you need the lightness, and you need the ability of the frame to help you out, which both have in spades. But because the Hero is lighter, because the Hero is smaller, because the Hero is cheaper, so when you drop it, the parts will be cheaper. It's just easier to do this on the Hero. So to me, the big difference is not off-road. It is on the highway, where 120 on the Xpulse is 10 kilometers from its top speed. 120 on the KTM is 40 kilometers from its top speed. It's a lower sense of strain. But the Hero is refined throughout, and it's easy to ride in the city. The Adventure is not refined in the city. These are the actual differences, in which is 2 times the money.
I'm sorry, I have to admit that this conversation is getting dragged on, because I think I've just realized that I'm somewhere incapable right now to accept that this engine has made that step. I've basically identified.
We can solve this.
It's my problem.
We can solve
it's my
this.
problem.
Please send us a test bike faster. Kartikeya needs to be convinced of what I got convinced about.
Yeah, I mean, because that was like, wow.
No, I was just really happy to see the bike. I think that the thought process is fallen into the place. The products are getting good. I like the idea that Hero saying, yes, we should have lots of premium products, but we'd still rather get the right product than products quickly, which is why the 400, for example, is out there somewhere. So I like what I'm hearing. And this team that built the Xpulse, they are very passionate about it. And they are very serious about this product. They want to build the rally bike. And they are wondering not when to build the rally bike or how to build the rally bike. They're saying how hardcore should the rally bike be? And how hardcore can you make it before it becomes so extraordinarily expensive that nobody's willing to buy one? But the question is not...
No. Wait. I'm sorry. No. Make it as hardcore as you would like it. You guys are doing some serious stuff. You seem like you're really into this. So make it as hardcore as you would want it and build that Halo bike. I think that is the one thing that Hero's missing. Right?
No, I think I'm going to say Hero now needs a skunk works team.
Yeah, you said it.
I'll tell you how to do this. I want you guys to just directly to the Hero guys, and I know you're listening. Each one of your teams who build one of these products like the Extreme or the Xpulse need to be given a budget to produce outrageously extreme motorcycles which will sell maybe 50 units a year or 100 units a year. Leave nothing on the table, max the crap out of them. And the idea is, even if they're unsold, when Hero builds out the museum of what their journey was, it will not be the golden charisma that will stand out, it will be these skunk work projects that will stand out. So, you want to build the Dakar equivalent of the Xpulse 210, please do. I think you will find 100 Indians every year who will be willing to take on that kind of madness.
Hero needs a hero. We are just making steps which are, I mean, pleasing steps, no two ways about it. But that fascination and aspiration has to come from the top down. So build that. I think do go mad.
Yeah, that's it. You have to build extreme stuff. Yeah. No, don't take the without the E word, the with the E word. You have to show what's possible.
And honestly, it might seem like we're always making demands, but now that you've gotten here, now that you've gotten the basis covered, the next step to go for.
Yeah, and if the bike was not great, we wouldn't be making demands, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so they made a new Xpulse, big deal. It's still a little wheezy and service will be crap, right? That's what we'd be discussing, right? Not the fact that I was riding a road bike and not panicking and I had time to see the sunrise.
All right, so that is the Hero Xpulse 210. I said this for the Extreme, and I'm going to say it again. Color me curious. I really can't wait. I can't wrap my head around this conversation. So yeah, looking forward to seeing the bikes for sure.
Yeah.
And let me see if I can remember what all Shumi's got lined up in the coming weeks. He's got the classic 650 next. Yes. The 210 is still missing in action.
Correct.
Right? As is the Scram 440.
Yes.
And like as he said last time, it's somewhere in the wind, right? And after that,
Suzuki E-Axis.
Suzuki E-Axis. There's also a conversation about the two Activa electrics.
Yes.
And I'm going to throw in one more which wasn't discussed last time. There's also an Enduro R in discussion.
Oh, yeah, that just happened before the recording. That looks like the Enduro R first ride should also be happening.
So I don't know, man. I'm sitting here and chilling. I'm enjoying these conversations, but I mean, there's super.
So I'm not putting the knee braces and the
Yeah, man.
I'm not putting them away. But since it's the Enduro R, 46 bhp and everything, I think I'd better buy some blood pressure medication.
46 bhp. Oh wow. Alrighty.
Yeah.
46 bhp. But yeah.
Yeah. Thankfully, Karthik said, these bikes are so easy to ride. If you were a starter and you were to think of a 46 bhp starter bike, in the case of the KTM Adventure, I wouldn't dissuade you. So hopefully the Enduro will be kind to my skills.
Have fun. Chalo. If we have missed out on anything, do let us know in the comments. And if you're watching on the app, we'll be with you in a moment. And if you're catching us on YouTube, just keep in mind that, the classic 650 might already be out on the app.
Yeah, I have no idea how it is going to shake out. But here's the thing. Since I don't ride off-road, my input on the Enduro may not be too useful to you. Would you like Karthik to do that, MotorInc First instead? Leave us a comment only on the app.
Thank you so much for watching.